Hi everyone and welcome to the S79 sewing tutorials. So today's tutorial is another Christmas make and we're going to learn how to make a Santa gift sack. So the Santa sack that we're making today features a drawstring closure. There's no lining inside and it's super quick and easy, and it does feature French seams. So if you've never tackled French seams, this is a great way to give them a go and creates a beautiful finish on the inside of your project without the need to line it. Okay, so for this project you need some fabric and some bias binding. You're also going to need some ribbon or some cord to pull, obviously to act as your pull cord for the drawstring back. If you're interested in doing some personalised applique, I have also uploaded a video showing how I created this. It's super quick and easy and very simple way to do it. And I show how to tackle the applique with no raw edges, all neatly folded under. So be sure to check that out if you're looking to do something like this on your Santa sack. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so with the two pieces cut out, we're going to do French seams on this. So this means that we're going to have nice neat seams on the inside of the bag without us needing to overlock them or to line it or to zigzag. So the way we're going to do that, if you haven't done French seams before, is you're going to lay them on top of each other. Normally when we're sewing things together, we put right sides together. This time we're going to put wrong sides together. So make sure that the wrong sides are together and that you have the right sides of your fabric on the outside. So this will be the right side, this will be the right side. So lay them on top of each other and make sure that all the raw edges are nicely lined up. And you can pin or clip around the edges just to hold all the pieces together. Okay, so with it all pinned in place, we're now going to stitch a 1 centimetre seam or 1/2 inch seam, whichever you prefer to work with, all the way down the side, along the bottom and back up the other side. Leave the top, we're going to do the top afterwards. At the corner, make sure that the needle is down into the fabric, lift up the presser foot, pivot the fabric around, put the presser foot back down and continue stitching on. So here you can see we have the right sides facing up and we have this raw seam on the outside. Because what we're going to do is turn it inside out and recreate a new seam along here, which will be on the inside, we need to make sure that this seam allowance is clipped right back so that we don't have any of it showing through a new seam like that. That would look terrible. So we're going to clip this right back. Now, as you can see, my fabric is fraying quite a lot. So I'm not going to take mine too close to the stitch line, but you do want to keep it fairly close. So go for about 1/2 centimetre, 1/4 inch, and just get it nice and close. And you can see there I'm clipping away all that excess seam allowance and leaving a nice neat seam allowance down there of about 1/2 centimetre or 1/4 inch. And we'll just continue this all the way around. And the last thing we're going to do is just these corners here. We're just going to clip them across. So just to make sure that they fold back nicely. As you can see, I've not gone too close. Again, my fabric is fraying quite badly, but you must not clip that stitch line. Just clip at an angle across. And the same with the other corner. So just clipping across there. So next, turn the whole bag inside out. And we're going to push out the corners. So we've just clipped these corners, so we do need to be gentle with them. Push too much or use anything too sharp to push these corners out with, we're going to end up with a hole. So just gently push. And there we are, that'll be fine. We don't need to sort of point it off any more than that. Okay, so with the seams all pressed, we want to make sure there's no folds in there and it's nice and flat. And there you can see this is the right side of the fabric on the inside, and you can see that we have those raw edges that we've trimmed right back, laying just to either side and across the bottom. So making sure that your seam is on the edge. We're now going to stitch another seam exactly the same way we did before, all the way down the sides, along the bottom and up the other side, with a 1 centimetre or a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around. So starting at the top, if I just stitch a small section to show you. So there's the seam, and if I open that out, you cannot see any of those raw edges. And what we have, this will be the inside, is a nice neat French seam. So we're going to carry on. We'll stitch all the way down the bag, along the bottom and up the other side. So next we're going to take the open end and folding the seam allowance to one side, we're going to do a double turn to the wrong side. So this is the right side of the fabric and we're just folding to the wrong side, and we're doing approximately 1/2 inch fold and then approximately another 1/2 inch fold, and we're just hemming all the way around this top edge. So we're just going to stitch a couple of millimetres in all the way down this long edge and then all the way down this long edge here. And we're not going to stitch the ends because that's where we're going to thread the ribbon through. Remember to do forwards and backwards to lock the stitch on this one. There's going to be a lot of pushing and pulling with the cord and the ribbon that goes through this channel, so you really need to make sure this is anchored down. And now we are going to stitch the other side of the bias binding to create a channel. Remember, it's important to keep your stitches close to the edge, especially if you're using anything that's about 1 inch bias tape, so that you can get your cord or ribbon. So with this side stitch, we're now going to stitch the other side in the same way. Okay, so that's all the channels stitched in place and nicely anchored down. So we're ready to feed in either the cord or the ribbon just to create those, so that we can create those lovely drawstring top. So for this, I'm going to use some red ribbon. I'm going to take one length, fold it over, and I'm just going to measure that and make sure that it has enough to go through and come out the other end of my project. And I'm going to cut 2 of those. So I have 2 and folded. Mine are coming nicely over the edge of the bag, so there's plenty there. So taking one ribbon, and you can either use a safety pin or you can use a bodkin, which I've spoken about on many of my other videos. So I'm going to use the bodkin and just attach that there. And taking one end of the ribbon, we're going to go in to the channel. Now remember when you come out that we did a fold just to give that nice neat edge. So you might have to sort of wiggle your safety pin or your bodkin around that fold, but it's perfectly doable. And just pull that out of there. So at this point we have the ribbon going straight the way across. We're now going to flip the bag over and take this same ribbon back through this side. So with that piece in place, I'm just going to tie a knot in the ends so that we don't lose the ends when we're putting the other piece of ribbon in. So just knotting those two together. I'm then going to take my second piece of ribbon, and where we went in on this side, we're now going to go in on this side and go all the way around and back out of this side. So you should have tails this side, and then the next piece you'll have the tails that side. So popping the bodkin back on. If you're using a safety pin, pop the safety pin on your new piece of ribbon. Okay, so we've gone all the way across the front of the sack. And now we're going to pull these ribbons that are tied together to one side. And we're going to take the one with the bodkin on and we're going back in there. So we're just ignoring these two that are hanging out. And we're going to carry on all the way across that back channel. And that's it, we're out there. So holding on to the one end, just make sure that you have both your tails of ribbon out, and just make sure that when you pull them, they should close, okay? If they don't close when you pull them, then you've obviously not sort of looped them round properly, and you just need to go back and just make sure that the ribbons are both going the right way. So tying a knot in this end. So there we are, it's all ready for Santa to fill with presents for Dylan if he's been a good boy this year.